The supernatural and mystical can be much closer than you think. And when you come to the store, or, for example, to a barbershop, you don't even realize that the spooky and incomprehensible events have already begun. I got a job at a new barbershop. More precisely, rented a chair in it. I liked the fact that the work is close to home, where I live, and the conditions are more favorable than the old place. Was a barbershop on the first floor of an old house. The owners bought a former store and remodeled it. Worked there since the opening. But the strange thing is that after a few months only I was left out of the girls who were working with me. Scary stories took over our barbershop. Because every employee, before she left, chattered about seeing mystical things here. No one wanted to explain more clearly. Only one girl confessed that when she was cutting a client's hair, suddenly someone pushed her under the elbow and she shaved off the excess with a machine. The scandal was intense. But that does not sound like a scary story. More like an excuse for her ineptitude. Of course, we did not believe the staff, but the general mood was tense. The owners were angry, as it was getting harder and harder to find workmen. And the rumor went about our barbershop bad. They said there was a ghost. And I, for all the time of work, did not notice anything like that. But it turns out, just for the time being. One day a client signed up with me for the evening. She was scheduled for tomorrow afternoon for an important event, and she really wanted it at 11 p.m. to take. She even promised to pay for overtime. So there I was, sitting in an empty barbershop in the evening, waiting. We have two halls separated from each other by glass opaque blocks. I turn off the lights in the next room. I sat in a chair and watched a movie. Of course I felt a little uncomfortable, especially after all the horror stories of dismissed employees. But I am a person of age, so I did not particularly believe the girls. I thought they were making things up in order to justify their unwillingness to work. Closer to 11 I was attracted by an incomprehensible noise in the adjoining hall. I turned off my phone. And sure enough, I heard something heavy fall in the silence. My heart sank right down. I got scared, not at once, but I decided to look behind the glass partition. It turned out that a mop leaned against the wall had fallen. I exhaled. We have a common occurrence of drafts. Probably badly leaned a mop on the wall. A client came in. I turned on the radio, so the silence would not seem so oppressive, and got a haircut. Of course, we were still chatting about this and that. After about 10 minutes, my client interrupts the conversation. "Who is that sitting in the hall with no light?" she suddenly asks me. I almost let the comb and scissors out of my hands. I have a chair so that in the wide mirror, reflecting the glass wall, and now we both see that on the other side of the wall like a man clung to the wall. The dark contours are blurred, like a reflection in water. And his arms are spread wide apart. It's as if the man is trying to embrace the wall. I turned around and cried out in fear. But at first I didn't think it was mysticism. I thought a burglar had snuck in. Customer realized my face, that bad things happen. She turned around, too. And that's when the scariest thing happened. The music suddenly stopped. A creepy, lingering wheeze and indecipherable speech came from the tape recorder's speakers. And the silhouette behind the glass suddenly began to stretch out, turning into an incomprehensible creature with disproportionately elongated limbs. The arms grew longer and longer. They seemed to be reaching out to grab us, but the wall was in the way. My client and I watched this metamorphosis with fascination. And at that very moment the glass squares began to crack with a loud piercing sound, as if something was pressing on them from the other side with enormous force. It was the last straw for us. With a shriek my client and I jumped out of the barbershop into the street. Of course, I had no intention of looking behind the wall to see for myself what was there. I just locked the front door. I finished my client at home. We didn't dare talk about what we had seen. The next day I announced that I was leaving. I didn't say much in response to any questions. All I said was that there was some weird shit going on. And how can you talk about such things? But what was even more embarrassing was that everything had happened the night I had left my cross at home. Or it was just a coincidence. And the barbershop worked for another 6 months and then closed. It's still abandoned. And I imagine that on dark nights this very thing wanders there, looking for people. I don't even want to imagine what will happen when something new opens there. All I know is that I will never set foot in that room.
Thank you for watching and supporting me. Subscribe to the channel, there will be many more interesting things.